Yeah.
So I'll let you go ahead because you said you wanted to talk about that, but I think that is important to call out because it's like that's probably the nature, especially when you are reading the Bible, you're automatically like making connections and you're drawing parallels and you're like, because so many things make so much sense in several arenas. So it's like, wow, this makes sense financially, this makes sense like relationship wise, this makes sense as far as community is concerned, this makes sense practically, like, and so God's word makes sense in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for you to kind of like reduce it down to just compare, it just doesn't make any sense. But it is natural for us to be like, oh, well, God says this, and that's not what I see. So it's kind of like, but that's a distraction, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. I think that's a distraction because it's not really helping you do.
We're not understanding.
If it's helping you do what God has you doing, then sure, make those connections. But I think it's very important for us to like not miss that like the Bible is for us to be better and to please God and to understand more about Him.
Yeah.
And to, like honestly, being selfish is going to make you have a better life.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be more equipped.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, and we're going to wrap up, but all I'm saying is that, and I agree with you, like, what you just said is totally understandable, and I don't think people look at it like that, and they should. Like, hey, let me take this. And I think what they do is they take the Bible, take it out of context. When I say context, read, and this is why reading is so important. Because I'm coming up with, I have to address this on Homecoming, where people are renouncing and denouncing, and I'll get into more of that there. But you can denounce and renounce something all you want, and I understand that. But don't take a Bible verse in Isaiah when I'm reading Isaiah and knowing what Isaiah and Amos are doing in the time of Israel versus the time you're going through now, or versus what God really says about idols in Exodus. And you got to remember what happened in Exodus is when the Jewish people just came out of slavery and then came out of wilderness. And then these are the new laws that God said live by. But then if you go to Jesus, you're supposed to walk like Jesus, and walking like Jesus coincides with fearing God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the same thing, right? They're on the same accord.
Yeah.
The problem is we're not on the same accord at all. We're not even ourselves. So when we read the Bible, and if you're not into the Bible, reading it every day and worshiping God, He's going to lead you to understand it. Please don't just look up a Bible verse on the internet saying this what it means and then telling people that this is what you believe. Because then it's not about you. It is about you, and it shouldn't be. It should be about them, but it's more so about you so you can get recognition of doing something God told you to do behind closed doors. I don't need to know that you did any of that. You should be just praising God behind closed doors because everything dark comes to light, right? So you don't need to announce it. When you pray, you're supposed to pray in silence. And the reason for that is nobody needs to know what
solitude. Yeah.
Nobody needs to know what you and God have going on. If God tells you to do it, yes. Right? But y'all don't know. Listen, y'all know what we have going on here, but I'm not going to tell you what God really walks with me because He's not telling me to do that.
Yeah, same.
Because when you start sharing, you start praising yourself more than Him, and then yourself could be considered an idol. But we're not going to get into that.
Okay.
That's the different. Yeah, that's the different. That's a different thing. I'll save that for the Homecoming podcast.